Hi there, it's Ron McCracken, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some recent events, both personal and world events, and talk about how to manage PTSD triggers and possibly other mental health conditions as well that these things could be triggering for. Um, well, first, let's talk about um, the national or international one. And this is, coming from someone who's been diagnosed with chronic PTSD. The terror attack in New Orleans that, the knucklehead that drove a car through that crowd, and knucklehead is far too kind a term for him, but anyway, drove a car through that crowd on New Year's, and I believe the final death toll was he killed 15 people, and then the cops killed him in a shootout. Uh, from what I gathered, that's the gist of what happened. Well, that's the kind of news that triggers my PTSD, which my chronic PTSD mostly came from the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013, which if you watch any of my videos, you know that, or any of you that follow me on other social media. So, naturally, something like that triggers me. But here's the key thing is that I recognize that early on, and this is, I think maybe this is and forgive me, but this is kind of an off the cuff video. This is very much unrehearsed and everything, but I wanted to get my thoughts down tonight. It's very early Sunday morning, like 1:17 a.m. in Dallas on January 5th, 2025. That's hard to believe, but anyway, the first big key is for people who have PTSD or other mental health conditions is recognizing events that are your triggers. Again, terror attacks like that have the potential to trigger my PTSD. So, one of the things I do is I just avoid diving too deep into that. I saw and heard the headlines, saw a little bit of video of it, and that's about it. That's really all I need to know. And I mentioned before in other videos, that doesn't mean that you don't care or anything, but you have to preserve your own mental health. You have to separate there. So, I still feel it. Not just empathy for those who were killed and their families, but also the survivors who, many of whom are going to have to deal with PTSD themselves as time goes by. So that's a key thing is really, and other news events too. It just kind of trying to separate yourself from that. On a much more personal level, I found out a couple of days ago that I guess sometime earlier this week, a Facebook friend of mine who I had not met in person, but we had for a couple of years, we messaged quite a bit back and forth on Messenger, so got to know each other a little bit, and someone who was just a beautiful soul, and a Facebook friend of mine who lived in Florida, and she had been struggling with her mental health for a while, from what I gather. And also, actually, her and I discussed that some in our messenger conversations. She made no secret of that, as I made no secret of my struggles. But anyway, I thought she was in a good place and everything as far as that goes. But um, earlier this week or late last week, she died by suicide. It appears. Um, and that just, again, that's very much, that hits on a personal level a lot. Because I don't even remember the last time I considered suicide, but there were quite a few years that I did consider that option on a fairly regular basis. But I guess the last time I actively considered that was probably 2017 or 2018. I don't remember the exact time frame, but thanks to therapy and sobriety, uh, that goes a long way. Something that I wanted to share these thoughts. And this was on top of, in December, a longtime friend of mine who lived here in Dallas that I had been friends with since high school. And we had kept in touch up until the last few years. We'd kept in touch fairly regularly, getting together for runs and meeting up at some races and things like that. Well, he died by suicide as well back in December. And again, these things, they hit home because it was only, his name was Scott Wilkinson. And like I said, pretty good friend of mine that we were high school running rivals in track and cross country. And then we ended up running against each other in a lot of road races, marathons, and 10Ks and stuff like that. But just became friends over the years and went on a lot of training runs together too. And just like my friend in Florida, I don't know what Scott might have been going through. I mean, he was another one. We had talked about some of that too, but it's that old adage about, what is it about, you never know what kind of personal battle someone might be fighting. And this is one of the primary reasons I do my mental health advocacy, and to share my story, share my recovery journey, and urge people to reach out and everything. It's just about 14 months before Scott passed, my friend Bucks Burnett did the same thing. Another local Dallas friend who was just a beautiful person, just a beautiful soul, and did that. And here's something. Here's a meme that I share often on social media. And along with, I urge people to reach out. If nothing else, if you don't have your own therapist or a support group, at the very least, reach out to the 988 emergency mental health number. And by the way, my upstairs neighbors are stomping around being noisy. Anyway, it says, I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. And that's something that I share a lot because I wish more people would realize that. That's something that I came to realize thanks to my therapy, which I started in August 2017, but then sobriety, which started May 7th, 2019. So January 7th, I'll be coming up on 5 years and 8 months of sobriety. Sometimes when I say that, it almost sounds like I'm talking about another person. Um, I don't have the answers. No one really does, but the biggest thing I urge people to reach out for help when they need it. And again, uh, therapy can go a long way. And also, I think just as big as therapy is my sobriety, because sobriety gives you that clarity of thought. It's my journey. Um, a lot of that healing included forgiving Jahar Tsarnaev, the surviving Boston Marathon bomber. And I had just a hell of a lot of hatred for him for a long time, because that happened April 15, 2013. Here's my medal from that race, which I was not allowed to finish at the time because of them. The medal's backwards, but that's because the video's backwards. But anyway, I never thought I'd be able to forgive him. But with therapy, and then again with sobriety, so it's therapy 2017, sobriety 2019. And finally, it was right around middle of July 2020, almost 7.5 years after the bombing, that I was able to forgive Jahar Tsarnaev. And that made a gigantic difference in my recovery. I almost immediately saw a lot more progress, and more consistent progress and rapid progress. Everything got better. Because I realized holding that grudge, that's an albatross around your neck that will drown you. And that's what it was doing to me. I didn't realize it while I was busy hating him, But I say it all the time, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It's just not going to have any effect on them at all. So I know everyone has to do it on their own time and in their own way. But I always say, if you can find a way, whoever or whatever caused your trauma, if you can find a way to forgive them or forgive the event, whatever, it's, forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. And I'll share one more meme before I go. I like this too. How to forgive. Forgiveness is taking the knife out your own back and not using it to hurt anyone else, no matter how they hurt you. I'll read it one more time. Forgiveness is taking the knife out your own back and not using it to hurt anyone else, no matter how they hurt you. And, if you can reach that point where you can do this, it's very freeing. That's all I can say. And this ties back to dealing with triggers, whether they're, personal triggers, like these suicides that I mentioned. That's always a potential trigger for me, and I have to recognize that early on. And I think the biggest thing is reminding myself every day reminding myself of my own progress, keeping up with my therapy every week. I still see my therapist. Right now it's every Wednesday. And that's just practicing that mindfulness, that mindful meditation as well. Being very mindful and deliberate. And that's all I can say. I mean, there's no magic formula. I wish there was. It'd make it easy. But regarding the deaths of my friends who died like that, um, the well, one of the keys for me is remembering the good things about them, uh, remembering why I love them, and although these hit hard, these hit very hard, but uh, just focusing on that, and it might be another cliche, but just focusing on all the great memories you had with them, and that goes a long way. Because obviously they were in a great deal of distress and everything, and did not get, appears did not get the help that they needed. But again, uh, just reminding yourself of the astonishing light of your own being, and focusing on your own recovery, and just just try to stay grounded and reach out and communicate. And that's all I can say. And forgive when you can, and if you're already sober, if you're already on your recovery journey and sober, keep it up. And if you're not, please consider it. You'd just be amazed how much clarity it gives you. It brings you a lot of clarity and peace. And that's about it. Wishing everyone a Happy New Year. Let's hope 2025 will be better. All right. Peace out, Boston Strong.